This is we're good? This is the June 12th meeting of the Board of Finance, is our regular meeting. If you would rise, join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence, and if you would keep all air travelers in your thoughts today after two horrific accidents today. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I don't see anybody for public comment. For some reason, my light was off. So we'll go on to the Town Treasurer's Report. Hello, Mr. Musto.
Hello, Madam Chair. How are you?
I am well today. How about yourself?
Good. First beautiful day in a while. Evening. Right. Sent the report. I know. Sorry about that.
We're really bad at this today.
I haven't been here in a month, and all of a sudden I forget how to use the equipment. I sent the report. I realize you guys probably got a little late with Phyllis being out, but anyway, it's the normal report. We're close to the end of the year. The good news is we made our budget a little bit more, and we're going to have another month to get even more. And that, well, I guess there's no real bad news. It's other than that, it's pretty standard stuff. So if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them, and if not, I'll let you get out of here before the sun sets.
I don't have any questions. I did speak with you earlier in the week, and you were explaining about some of the stiff Janney funds that you had moved some stuff and what the rates were looking like.
Yes. So Janney is, the reason the numbers have sort of switched this month is Janney matured all roughly $13 million that we have in there. That's been invested back since it matured. So next month, those numbers will be switched again. But that, that's once or twice a year, depending on how the timing goes. We get a big number from Janney and then nothing for a while, very small amounts for a while. So this month, the rates, I guess whatever level of uncertainty is in the economy, with stocks going up and down, et cetera, the bond rates, the longer the bond rates, the lower the yield. So this is now invested in a 3-month bond, or CDs, and we'll get those back, or treasury bills, excuse me. So we'll get that money back in 3 months, and we'll see what the rates are at that point. But after 3 months, the rates went down, and then at a year, it was actually almost a half a point less. So we're trying to get the most money for next year, and hopefully these numbers will stay up. The only problem with next year is the rate's been going down over the last year, so we're going to have to just be a little more vigilant and hope we can keep those rates good. Hope the rates stay up.
All right. Anybody have any questions? Thank you.
All right, guys, enjoy the weekend.
See you in July.
See you in July.
Mr. Tim Pinelli, you want to bring,
Resolution 06 dash,
hold on.
06-25-01, a supplemental appropriation in the amount of $82,000 coming from the general fund balance to account number 01030300-567702, Public Works Department. The purpose is for emergency repair to a Caterpillar excavator. I assume Mr. Estrada is here to address that. I move its adoption.
Thank you, Vinnie. It's broke and you had to fix it?
Doesn't get much simpler than that.
No, it really doesn't.
I'm going to ask Rich to explain the operation, the equipment specifically and its operation and how important it is to the Public Works and to the town. And then Doug will provide you with the breakdown on the repairs and how we arrived at the cost. Okay?
Good evening, everyone. Rich Infante. This piece of equipment is critical for the town of Trumbull. This is something that we use for recycling all of our materials that we pull off of the projects throughout the town of Trumbull, our paving program, everything else. This is the piece of equipment that you allotted money to buy a concrete muncher to enhance our recycling program with this piece of equipment. And it's something that we've had for 7 years. Every day the machine is working throughout the summer to keep up with our projects up at Indian Ledge site. And it also does maintenance throughout the town. You'll see our large excavator digging out easements throughout the town, cleaning waterways, et cetera, wherever this piece of equipment is needed. So we've had this size piece of equipment. It's a 25-ton excavator. We've had one since 1996. This is the third generation that we replaced. And we bought a Caterpillar excavator so that we can have it for a long period of time, because Caterpillar has a very good track record of having all the replacement parts available. So we wanted to get longevity out of this piece of equipment. The piece of equipment itself is in excellent condition. So it's something that we said, you know, we have this problem. It's a problem that happens and needs to get addressed relatively quickly so that we can stay on track with all our recycling. Once we get behind with this piece of equipment, we can't catch up. It works in conjunction with our payloaders, with our screeners also, that are all part of our recycling program for metal removal from concrete, processing the asphalt, processing rock, et cetera. So, like I said, this piece of equipment is 8 years old, but it's in excellent condition, and our expectation is that this is about a third of its way through its life at this point. So it's worth putting the investment in, because it's something that we'll be able to get replacement parts for the next 20 years for it, to keep it up and going.
And what does it roughly cost new?
This piece of equipment is $300,000 plus new. That's right now.
Yeah.
You go to replace it in the future, every year it goes up another 5%. So it's an expensive piece of equipment. But again, it's in excellent condition. Doug and his crew does a great job maintaining this, so it is flawless from front to back. We stay up on all the repairs and everything. But it's this is one of those things that just happens. It's an obscure event, but it does happen. And redoing the valve body, because it's the central valve body in the machine, it's like the heart of the machine, which all the hydraulic lines for the whole machine run into. So when you have an issue like this, inside one of the cylinders actually broke apart, all pieces of metal get throughout the machine. They have to clean the whole machine, every single hydraulic line, which is hundreds of feet of hydraulic line. All the cylinders have to get cleared out, and you have to replace that valve body in it. So it's a very complicated process. This, when I was in the construction world prior to the town of Trumbull, this is one of those stories that you hear that you never want to experience for yourself. So this is my first one, and I've dealt with a lot of excavators and maintaining this stuff. So it's not a pleasant experience for anyone, but again, it's still cheaper to do this repair and get this machine back online than to come here and ask us for another $300,000 excavator.
So, because it's listed as an emergency repair, so.
Yep.
And you did mention excellent condition on this, so.
Yes.
Other than the fact that there's a hydraulic system issue, everything else on the.
Everything else on this
seems to be-
machine is perfect. It came back. We have been testing it with no issues at all. I checked with the dealer before we got this work done and other sources. This is not typical of this machine. This machine, the 323F that we purchased, is very reliable over time. No one else has had issues. So it's one of those things that, yes, it does occur once in a blue moon. We just happen to be the lucky ones that it happened to.
I saw that the valve part is $30,000?
Yes, that's correct.
That's the one part.
So this part is about this big with about 40 spools that go inside that slide back and forth. So our machine, we purchased this because it's an auto grade machine. So when we go to dig out easements in town, we can set the machine to a certain elevation, and you can go down in the water and you could dig the bottom of a pond. So we can get the elevations from our engineering department, and this machine will auto dig working off a satellite control. It'll auto grade so we can get everything back to the way wetlands wants it, the way the engineering department wants it, the way all our engineers want it to design this stuff. So it's purchased specifically for the town of Trumbull and our needs across the town. So
Is the valve subject to failure?
the valve is a block of steel. What happened is shavings got into the system from one of the cylinders when the head inside broke apart slightly. So the valve itself is a big piece of steel with steel spools in it that does not break. It's the steel that got into it that caused damage inside. They tried to polish it. They were unsuccessful at getting it to work, so they ended up having to replace it. And we used to have an Ackerman years ago. We ended up having a similar issue to the Ackerman. The only problem is we couldn't get replacement parts for it. We had to have a valve body section custom made in Sweden to get that machine up and going. This was available right in the United States from Caterpillar relatively quickly, so we can get the machine working again.
Thank you.
Last question. Expectations of downtime?
For this machine,
Yep.
this machine is up and going already. It was down, they spent, I think, 150 hours to repair this machine. They took the whole machine apart, pulled this valve body out, pulled the cylinder off it, put everything back together. There's probably about 35 hydraulic lines that go up and down the boom all throughout the machine. Everything was cleaned out. They put it on another machine to move the oil through filters to get everything out, and it got a clean bill of health. So it's up and running. We have a little bit more testing just to ensure that everything is proper, but we're up and going.
So that was my question, you know, what are you looking at for timing and all this? So the work is done. This is
Yes.
because you couldn't cover it within the budget coming to the end of the year, which is what we ask you to do, is to try to make sure it's covered. So I think that's great. I'm glad it's up and running.
Yeah.
I see your crews everywhere.
You'll see the summer is our busiest time of year, and
Well,
this
but-
is when
but you're-
this is when we need it the most.
I know how many people work in your department, but I feel like they're everywhere right now, and that's
Yes.
amazing, so.
You'll experience it all over the place with all the road paving that's going on and all the projects and everything else.
Yeah, and everybody insists you're not doing anything at all,
Wow.
so I just
If
wanted to.
anybody has a
like-
question, they could come for a ride with me and I'll show them everything that's going on. Because I start in the morning at 5 in the morning, going over the weather because of all the rain we've been getting. So to try to keep our
Yeah.
paving program on schedule, I'm talking to our subcontractors at 5 in the morning to keep things going.
All right.
So we're very busy.
Does anybody have any other questions about this? Doug, you're off the hook.
I'm fine.
Okay, can I take this motion to move $82,000 from the fund balance to 010300300567702 to cover the repairs to the big machine? A unanimous consent. The big machine, so we'll do that by unanimous consent. The big machine. Well, you know, when we went down and we saw all the equipment and stuff, like, it makes a lot of sense, and I'm glad it was an actual easier fix than not, so. But thank you, guys. Anybody have any other questions while they're here? All right.
Thank you.
Yes, we did by unanimous consent. No, we didn't have anything to argue about. All right. Discussion items.
Good night, all.
Good night.
Very much.
Keep up the good work, guys.
See you at ShopRite. On the year-to-date budget report, Maria, anything you want to highlight?
Most of these are the ones that are over budget. They're going to be able to be covered by a transfer within the departments, but
Okay.
I'll just highlight a few of them.
Yes, please?
Purchasing on page 15, which is 4 of the report. The overtime, I'm sure I'll be coming to the Board of Finance for a supplemental for overtime at the year end. I won't do it now. On page 16, workers' comp is over budget by 90,000. I should be able to cover within the benefits department under FICA. There's $270,000 left in there. Should be able to cover that. The same department on page 17, I have service and fees for over budget by 14,963. That will be covered also through a transfer, and that had to do with consultants relating to pension issues. You know, had to do with the police pension. There were a couple of questions still going on the police pension and others.
Okay.
It's with the town clerk.
Can you hit your microphone? She can't hear you.
Town clerk,
Town
I
clerk
think
salaries?
it had to do with I'm still researching that one, but has to do with the fact that they had the same day voting. Was it the same day or the? Early voting. And I know we have a grant for $10,000 for that, but obviously the expense is gonna go over and the revenue will be over that amount. We always look at the police department overtime. So on page 19, The police overtime is still on track. It's 88% spent, so the overtime is doing good. I think they do most of the work now, so hopefully we're still okay. If not, it'll be covered by the full-time salaries.
Awesome. At some point, if you could just ask, I know they had a round of hiring. We haven't had
Update.
an update in a couple months, and that report that he sends is just really helpful to kind
Yeah.
of see where we are on track. And I understand that we've hired a few new officers, so
Right, I will ask.
if you would ask if he
Yeah.
would send it for next month, that'd be great. Any other questions so far?
EMS, I was gonna say, there's a couple of transfers that will happen. As you can see, the full-time is only 87% used. It should be approximately 92 at this time. That's why you're using more consultants, or the per diem in the vacation. That's why it's over by 47. Should be able to be covered.
Are they also, they had some new positions added to the budget. Are they
They
also
a-
having trouble filling?
They're actually interviewing right now
Excellent.
for starting July 1st.
Do you think we could ask Colin also for this, a similar report
Yeah.
on staffing?
Like I said, some of the other departments, it just transfers within the departments enough to cover.
And there wasn't going to be enough within the highway department to fix that machine for the.
No, there wasn't. If you look at page 25,
Do they have overages in public work? Other places, I mean, surplus in other places that they couldn't transfer from?
you can't transfer from one
Correct,
department
so-
to the other, so no. They may have had in Public Works, the regular 301 department.
Yeah.
There might be enough in there, but obviously I can't cover.
So some of it's gonna wind up going back in.
Right.
Okay.
And so snow removal while we're on Public Works, on page 24, obviously, we have to fund that as a supplemental, 212,000. Sewer fees went up, I'm not sure what happened there, but we may be able to cover with a transfer.
Okay.
And you'll see on the fleet maintenance that there's 92,000 over in that transportation account. But there are some POs that are still open, so we don't know how much they're gonna need. That's why we only requested the 82,000. The recycling, the same thing, looks like it's over budget, but there are some large purchase orders that are encumbered, so we don't know if they're gonna be using all that. That's why I'm not asking for a supplemental right now.
And the things in fleet maintenance that we're waiting on the POs, those are outlying things, those are not things that were budgeted for.
No, sometimes they put in, the fees come out higher, are budgeted higher than they really come out at the end for the recycling.
Okay.
And so that's why there's such a large,
No, I was talking about back in fleet maintenance. and
oh, I'm
public
sorry,
works.
fleet maintenance. The same thing, because they put in some POs, some blanket POs, if they use the same vendor for
Okay.
repairs, like for parts. So they may not be using all of those. That's why
Okay.
I'm not requesting the supplemental now.
And that's not unusual at this time of year for that
No,
department, right?
No, so next month I should have a better feel for what's there. Yeah, the other ones are pretty much just, would be transfers within the departments, nothing large. And some departments will have surpluses at the end. I just don't have an accurate figure right now because of the, we're still getting invoices. Still, the year's not finished yet. Any questions on the expenses?
Just a quick question, Maria, to go back to fire marshal, I think is on page 11 or 22, depending on how you're looking at it. I'm assuming that salaries overtime is gonna get covered by salaries part-time? You got an internal transfer?
Yeah, there may be, maybe.
Okay.
It may be covered. I'm not, the full-time is already 93%. Yeah, the part-time could be, it may be covered through there. Actually, no, because they only have 19,000 in part-time, and they still have, Andy's still working, so that most likely will be required a supplemental.
Thank you.
And that had to do with all those fires. I think they had a few fires at night.
Anything on the revenues that we should be looking at?
Well, we talked last week about the municipal revenue sharing, the sales tax, that we lost 800,000. So you'll see it on page 35. The loss of 800,000, so that was,
It's just a little bit, it's fine.
yeah. As you can, the taxes we're still collecting on them, so, and I don't think, June is posted, obviously June is not posted, and part of May is not posted, so, but I know we're gonna be in a deficit there because of the appeals that we paid. We paid 2 large appeals. The interest income, I'm projecting like 3 million too, as you can see from Anthony, it was 3,000,001 right now, and we still have June. Page 37, EMS, they're up to 2,000,002, and not all, and they still have June, so they'll meet their budget. I think I'm projecting 2,000,004. Building department most likely will be under budget. And we talked about the Board of Education tuition. That is part of it coming directly from the state. And, you know, we budgeted higher because we didn't know about it. But the other side is that the state revenue came in higher also, so the net effect should be neutral. That's it. If anybody has any questions.
No? Okay.
Yeah, I didn't provide the fund balance report. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to review
Well,
it all.
we just went over that last week, so we'll look at that again next month.
Yeah, it will be better next month. I'll have better figures next month.
Just one point of information for next month. We had discussed that the business manager for the Board of Education is retiring. They have hired somebody new who starts July 1. And at that time, we'll be looking to fund an audit with the changing man to do that. Maria did do some research with a cost estimate similar to what we had talked about, somewhere between $50,000 and $75,000 to do the financial audit. It's an operational audit. What was the name of you said it had a specific name.
It's applied procedures audit. It's an applied procedures audit. Yeah, it's not, it's
Yeah.
similar to an operational audit, but it's
Yeah.
more, we dictate what they should be looking at. And I think it's similar to what they did 2010,
Yeah.
something like that.
Okay.
Maria, do you know, is it specific in the statute as to what positions, when vacated, require an audit? It is specific?
Yes, in the charters, actually say any
the
top
charter.
positions like finance director, any top positions. It mentions the Board of Ed and it mentions the town, top positions. And normally, you know, I could perform those audits, but obviously I don't have the staffing to even do that right now.
Also,
It's any vacant.
the town council, then there were 2 parts in the charter. One, the town council can do any department at any time. They can authorize that, but it was specific to when roles
Someone-
change. So it's not punitive, it's just a really good time to do that, and it sets the new incoming person up clean. So that will happen at our July meeting, which brings me to a quick discussion about the timing of our meeting. Because of the 4th of July weekend, I think it's 4th of July, the town council meeting is moved to the same night, that Thursday that we would meet. I was wondering how you would feel about noticing our meeting earlier. The town council usually starts at 7:30, and since Maria actually needs to be at both, maybe we do our meeting at 6, so that we're done by 7:30, which I believe we are usually about that amount of time. That would allow us to have a request for the supplemental on our agenda, and then immediately after it would go to the town council, so it would allow that to happen. So if that would work for everybody. The 10th, yes.
6 o'clock.
Yeah.
It'll be tight, but I'll do my best.
Well, so even if we did
Yeah.
like 6 or 6:15, like, so I will coordinate with everybody and we'll notice the meeting earlier, then we'll do that, and then we can leave for the town council while they're doing their stuff. All right, good. So moving on, we have one last thing. If you would look at the attached meeting minutes from our April 10th meeting, and I'll take a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Dave. And if you have any comments, corrections, or changes? Any issues? Can I accept these by unanimous consent? Everybody was here. We're good. So we're all set with that. Anybody have anything else? A motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you, Christine. Nobody else wants to stay. All right, good. 7:28. I think we set a record. Good night, everybody.
Record.